thank you for joining us for the webinar on innovations in 3D printing for hospitals and community pharmacies. My name is Anna Worsley, and I am the COO of FABRX and CEO of FABRX AI, and I'll be today's host. We have two great talks today, the first focusing on excipient and base mixes for 3D printing by our guest speaker, Ajay Uppal, Formulation Specialist at SpecializedRx, followed by our own research director, Carlos Bendicho, who will be speaking on the autofilling of capsules using our MedMaker 3D printing system. And following the presentations, we will also have some time for a Q&A session, and we have our co-founder of FABRX, Professor Alvaro Ganes, joining the panel. So Ajay will be starting us off today. Ajay Uppal is a certified pharmacy technician and has been a formulation scientist at SpecializedRx since July 2023. Ajay brings over 16 years of previous experience from Lloyd's pharmacy in St. Paul, Minnesota in the US, and holds a BA in global studies from Hamline University. He combines deep industry knowledge with a global perspective to advance compounding solutions. Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, FABRX, for having me. My name is Ajay Uppal. I am the Formulation Specialist here at SpecializedRx, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about our company, who we are, what it is we do, the importance of compounding, where the compounding market is currently, both in the US and globally, and where it could be in the very near future, and ultimately how excited we are to be working with FABRX and the incredible potential for pharmaceutical 3D printing. So this is us. We were established in 2013. We're headquartered in Circle Pines, Minnesota. We recently commissioned a new facility in Fridley, which is only about 25 minutes away, and that has massively boosted our production capabilities. We are FDA registered, and we are a manufacturer and distributor of compounding bases, excipients, and compounding equipment. So here's a quick overview of our product categories. We have a wide variety of bases, everything from suppository bases, troche bases, topicals, suspension vehicles, capsules. We have a wide variety of sizes, both in gelatin and HPMC, so vegetable caps. Chemicals, we have a wide offering of solvents, penetrant enhancers, emulsifiers. As for equipment, I wanted to highlight our X-Tab system, which is an all-encompassing system that allows you to make rapid dissolve tablets with an integrated heat element, so no need to use a convection oven. Our patented bitter block has been widely proven to be highly effective when using bitter APIs like ketamine or sildenafil. If you work with amino acids, if you work with caffeine, if you work with CBD, bitter block is highly effective at mitigating some of the off notes and the bitter taste associated with those ingredients. And we also have a full suite of flavors and colors available as well. So I wanted to touch briefly on our troche bases. We currently have three varieties, the Techna 10, the 20, and the Techna Natural. Techna 20 was our original offering, and Techna 10 is a lowered PEG version of that. If you have customers who are sensitive to PEG or have allergies, Techna Natural would be a good option for you then. I wanted to highlight our Techna 20 specifically because this is the base that was successfully used by FABRX in their recently published minoxidil study. So when the question comes up, do you have bases that are ready for 3D printing? The answer is yes. It's been tried, it's been implemented, and we're hoping that as our relationship with FABRX grows, that more of our bases will get this sort of validation as they get tested by FABRX. So, what is pharmacy compounding? Well, we define it as the preparation of customized medications that are not commercially available for patients with specialized medical needs. And this can encompass many things. It could be that a specific strength of a medication is not available. It could be that a specific dosage form is not compatible with the patient needs. It could also mean that a medication simply isn't available commercially. Beta histine, for example, is only available through compounding in the US. There are currently approximately 7,500 compounding pharmacies in the US, and those are broken up into two categories. So you have the traditional compounding pharmacies, often known as 503As. This is where you would typically see a wide variety of compounds made, but often in smaller volumes. And then you have outsourcing facilities, 503Bs. This is what you would typically associate with bulk compounding. Here you would typically have larger volumes, but smaller variety. So a quick snapshot of where the compounding industry is currently. In 2024, the US market was valued at approximately 6.3 billion, and the global market was approximately 14.5 billion. The US market is expected to grow to about $10.7 billion by 2033, and the global market is expected to reach 22.9 billion in that same time frame. So we can expect to see the market almost double in the next decade or so. It is unrealistic to sort of expect the number of pharmacies in the US to sort of triple and quadruple. So a lot of this growth is going to be driven by technology. And the growth really comes from the fact that there's increased healthcare awareness, as well as the increasing demand for personalized medication. So I wanted to highlight a couple areas where you can really see the benefit of compounding. Veterinary compounding is an area where there's the potential for huge growth. So the US leads the world in pet ownership. 86.9 million American homes have at least one pet. That's approximately 66% of American homes. So the market is already huge and it's only growing. Unfortunately, commercially available products and solutions for pets are limited. So compounding is often called upon to sort of fill these therapeutic gaps. And if you're a pet owner, you may be all too aware of the struggle of trying to medicate your pet. You may be at home crushing up some tablets, trying to hide it in a piece of cheese or something like that. Compounding can provide a solution. You can get a customized medication in the dosage form that is convenient. So you could get a transdermal gel, for example, that you can easily apply to the tip of a cat's ear, or you could get a rapid dissolve tablet compounded, something the size of a Tic Tac that would quickly dissolve in your pet's mouth. 3D printing here specifically has the potential to streamline and, more importantly, standardize this process. So children are another demographic that can greatly benefit from compounding. Children often struggle with dosage forms that are often meant for adults. Trying to get a 4 or 5-year-old to swallow a giant capsule or a tablet meant for adult is not going to lead to any success. And palatability for kids especially is important because a medication is not going to be effective if the patient won't take it. If you're like me, you may have memories of your parents trying to convince you to take some horrendous tasting medicine, something you may often develop sort of a negative association with. So 3D printing would allow for more concentrated doses, smaller, easier to consume forms. You can add a bitter blocker, you can add a flavor to improve taste, you can even add a color to make the medication more appealing. All of this makes the medicine taking experience more appealing, ultimately improving compliance. So this is a potentially ideal situation and solution for a hospital pharmacy, for example, and FABRX has already incorporated the technology in a number of hospitals across Europe. So within the compounding community, there is sometimes this talk of the growth to 10%. So what is this 10%? Well, compounding medications only make up for approximately 1 to 3% of all prescriptions written in the US. So that number is skewed somewhat by how big pharma is, but nonetheless, growth to 10% or even 5% would represent incredible growth. And in order for that growth to happen, you need speed, you need accuracy, and you need reliability. And those are three key points where 3D printing could really address issues. The opportunities for growth are going to come from technological advances. So improved drug formulation techniques and automated dispensing systems, just like the MedMaker that FABRX has. All of this will help enhance safety and efficiency. So just like the humble mortar and pestle eventually gave way to the EMP and unguator machines, so too will hand pouring trochee bases and suppository bases eventually lead to automation and 3D printing. If you were to poll a number of technicians and pharmacists who work in a compounding lab, they would probably tell you that the difference before and after introducing certain technology is night and day. The ability to load a machine with a base and an API to set a speed, a time, press a button, and then walk away, allowing you to work on your paperwork, do your dishes, or another extemporaneous compound. The amount of time saving is incredible. And something we often don't like to talk about is the fact that mistakes are often more likely to occur when the workload is high, when we are rushed. If you already have a stack of prescriptions you have to fill, and then you get word that a patient is on their way and looking to pick up their prescription in the next 20 minutes, now you have to stop what you're doing to get working on that prescription. Well, 3D printing can work quietly in the background. It can sort of alleviate some of the day-to-day burden on pharmacists and technicians. And I also want to talk about the importance of raising awareness for pharmacy compounding in general, the benefits, the safety involved. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about compounding. Partnerships, such as the one we have embarked on with FABRX. When I started working at my local compounding pharmacy 20 years ago, I had no idea that compounding was an option. I just assumed that if you needed a medication, you had to go the route of the commercially available product. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one. I think there's probably lots of people who don't know that this is an option. And I think there's a lot of people who don't yet know that 3D printing is a reality now. And from the perspective of a technician who worked in a lab and who made these compounds, I think it's important to say that the technology should not be viewed as a threat. It is something that we should embrace. It is something we should be excited about. And sort of as an extended community, it is something we should all be working towards to find the best way to implement it into our industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ajay, for that really interesting presentation. It's always great to hear that SpecializedRx are embracing pharmaceutical technology, 3D printing technology, to improve the compounding workflows. So thank you very much. So next up, we have Carlos Bendicho, our research director here at FABRX. Carlos holds a PhD in pharmaceutical technology from the University of Santiago de Compostela in Spain. And with experience as a registered pharmacist in Spain's healthcare system, he now leads FABRX's research, advancing automated compounding solutions. Today, Carlos will share his expertise on leveraging 3D printing and automation to revolutionize pharmaceutical compounding for hospital and community settings. Thank you, Carlos.
So, hi, everyone. Well, first of all, thank you, Anna, for your presentation, and Ajay for joining us to the webinar today and for your wonderful presentation. Well, of course, thank you to all of you for being here today. I see some familiar names in the audience, which is always a pleasure. But for those who don't know me, my name is Carlos Bendicho, but everyone calls me Charlie. I'm a pharmacist by training, and right after finishing my studies in pharmacy, I started working as a community pharmacist here in Spain, where I stayed for almost 6 years. Working in a community pharmacy made me realize how many challenges medicines still have, and just how difficult and time-consuming it can be to provide truly personalized treatments for each patient. So when I joined FABRX, my ultimate goal was to bring our technology to community pharmacies and hospital pharmacies to reach as many people as possible and make personalized medicine a reality. So, as all of you know, after Jay's presentation, compounding is the only way to truly personalize medicines. However, if we pause for a minute and reflect, there have been no significant advances in pharmaceutical compounding for many years. And we are still relying on manual techniques to prepare all kinds of dosage forms, like, for example, capsules, where you have to be with the spatula and the powder with the capsule holder, doing these repetitive movements to fill the capsules. And this raises concerns about both quality of the compounded medicines and safety. In fact, recent studies in the US market have reported potency variations ranging from 0 to 450% of the prescribed dose, which is an alarming issue for patient safety. And this doesn't end here, because manual compounding, as I said, involves repetitive movements which can lead to strain and work-related injuries for pharmacists. And also the pharmacist is exposed to the drug and to the fine powders of the drugs, causing potential health issues. So our solution is to automate compounding using 3D printers. And this not only automates compounding, but it increases the personalization options for the compounded medicines. It makes safer medicines through the inline quality control of our 3D printers. And it's also considered a more environmentally friendly technology. And it enables faster and cheaper clinical trials. So all of this leads to our vision for the future of personalized medicine that is summarized in what we call the virtuous cycle of personalized medicine, where you have to imagine a future where you feel sick and you visit your doctor, and the doctor uses all the data he has from the new diagnostic tools, your wearable devices, or even genetic tests to prescribe a treatment that suits you. So that prescription will be sent to the pharmacy in the form of a digital prescription. And in the pharmacy, it will be automatically converted into a 3D printable design. So the pharmacist will simply load the appropriate pharma ink, so the mixture of excipients and drugs, into the 3D printer. And the printer will automatically print your personalized dosage form for you. You will have this medicine. And based on the treatments and on the outcomes of the treatment, the cycle may be begin again. And with each iteration, with this cycle, you're generating valuable data that can be used to train AI models, improving not only your own therapy, but also treatments for other patients like you. So our scope in FABRX starts from the moment the digital prescription enters the pharmacy to the point where the personalized medicine is dispensed to the patient. So how are we implementing this in real world, in a real world pharmacy setting? So it's a very straightforward and simple process that includes 4 steps that go from the prescription to the pharma preparation and printing process to finally dispense the medication to the patient. And we're going to go step by step and take a closer look to each of the steps. So first, we're going to talk about the prescription. And our software is prepared to manage all the compounding prescriptions that enters your pharmacy. So it allows you to either enter a new prescription manually or integrate it with your pharmacy's prescription management software to automatically receive new prescriptions in a queue ready to be printed. For example, here we are selecting the API minoxidil. We are going to prepare capsules, 100 capsules of 2.5 milligrams, and it will be added to the queue. So the second step is the pharma ink preparation. So once you have the prescription, you need to prepare the pharma ink to be able to print. In our software, once you select the pharma ink that you are going to prepare, we have SOPs that are very simple, and you will just have to weigh the excipients and the drugs, mix them in a normal compounding pharmacy mixer, for example, the waiter, print the QR for traceability for each of the cartridges or syringes, and apply it to the syringe. So you will have your pharma ink ready to be printed. So this is what we call the compounding pharma ink scenario. So this is a scenario where the pharmacists make the pharma ink in the pharmacy, and then they put it into the 3D printer and print the medication. But we are working to have an industrial pharma ink scenario. We are working with regulatory bodies to have to approve this new pharma ink body in the pharmacy industry, where the pharmacist would buy the pharma ink from a pharmaceutical company or provider and just put it into the 3D printer and print the medication. But we are doing this right now. We are already compounding our pharma inks in pharmacies, and this is very easy to implement. The materials for the pharma ink manufacturing, the consumables for the printing process, or the blisters or primary packagings are available from many companies specialized in compounding, as for example, SpecializedRx, that can provide you with all these materials. So after preparing the pharma ink, the next step is the printing process. So you will select the prescription, you will select the pharma ink and the tray. For example, these are capsules. You click auto-range doses and lock the positions, and you have to scan the syringe that you have prepared before. The printer recognizes the pharma ink. You can place it into the printer and just click print. You enter your password and you can start the printing process. So once you start the printing process, you have many options to print. The first option is obviously 3D printing. So with a 3D printer, you can 3D print. That is only making these objects or these tablets layer by layer. And with this, you can modify the shapes, the sizes, and even the release profiles with the same pharma ink for the tablets that you are making. But this is a bit slow, and this is a bit technical. So what can we do with our 3D printer? So we can do filling processes. For example, we can fill capsules and automate the capsules compounding. So we are using sorry. Okay, so meant to be a video there. So what we are doing is automating the capsules compounding with formulations like Tecna from SpecializedRx or PEG-based formulations. And you can use this kind of pharma inks that are solid at room temperature. And when you heat them up, they are liquid, so you can dispense very precisely the liquid that you need to fill the capsules. So depending on the volume that you are extruding for this liquid, you will have one dose or other. So with the same pharma ink, you can change between doses. So the same with blister filling. The same technology, it's based in the same technology. You can have troches, lozenges, or even normal tablets that you can swallow. And it's the same process, but having, instead of a tray with a capsule holder, you have a tray with blisters and each blister is filled, and then you can close the lid with a thermosealing machine. So they are ready to dispense to the patient. We also have trays for having molds. So if you want to do larger batches, you can use molds that can be filled in the same manner. Everything is with quality control, so you can weight each of the capsules or the molds or the troches or the lozenges independently of the tray that you are placing in the 3D printer. So you can automatically and automatize the troche preparation process. And lastly, we can also fill suppositories or vaginal ovules with our technology. So we have a tray with a suppository molds that you can place in the 3D printer, and with suppository bases for compounding or for vaginal ovules, you can melt them, extrude them into the molds, and weight each of the suppositories that you are creating. So while you are, this video works. Okay, so as you see, it's everything based in the same technology. We have a liquid formulation there, and you can extrude it. And once it touches the shell of the capsule or the mold or the blister, it solidifies. So while you're printing, independently of the technology, you have this monitoring page where you will be seeing the weight and the force applied to the syringe in each moment. And once finished, you just have to close the blister or the capsules, and you will have this report automatically generated with the weights, the temperature, or even the force that has been applied to the process. So all of this can be done with our two 3D printers, MedMaker 1 and MedMaker 2. The only difference is the number of printheads. So MedMaker 1 has one printhead and MedMaker 2 has three printheads, and you can use three different pharmacies at the same time. The software that I was talking about is MedMaker Studio, and allows you to control these two 3D printers. And it also have excipients and drugs databases, protocol libraries with protocols and SOPs to prepare the pharma inks. It allows to protocol sharing between pharmacies and hospitals. It has also functions to autoload protocols with QR and barcode printing and scanning. And it has automatic auditing with batch recording and data collection. And we also have two modes, clinical mode, that is the one that is used for production in the pharmacy, for example. But we also have a research mode where you can play with all the parameters, for example, and play with different pharma compositions, with different parameters in the printing process, etc. And we also have an inline quality control. So we have a balance to weigh each of the dosage forms. We have a pressure sensor to monitor the pressure that is being applied through the process. And we also have a near infrared sensor that can read the concentration of each of the oral dosage forms. So the concentration of the API in each of the oral dosage in the dosage forms. So together with the balance, we can know the dose of each of the dosage forms that we are printing. And finally, you just have to dispense the medication. So we are doing this in the real world, and I'm going to talk about a real case study that we did in a pharmacy here in Spain. So just to give you a bit of background, FABRX was founded in 2014, and at that moment it was a research company. We were researching about all the 3D printing technologies that could be applicable to print medication. And for at that point, everyone was telling us, okay, it's cool technology, but you will never be able to put it and integrate it in a hospital. So our goal from there was to place the 3D printer in a hospital. And in 2018, we did it, and we implemented a 3D printer in a hospital in Spain to treat children with rare metabolic disease. And we published the first clinical study with a 3D printer in a hospital. So this study was really successful, and in 2020 we could launch the world's first pharmaceutical printer, that is the MedMaker one that I showed you before. Sorry. So from that point, we started collaborating with many hospitals and companies, and we reached a point where everyone was telling us, okay, maybe you could implement a 3D printer in a hospital and it makes sense, but you will never be able to implement this technology in a community pharmacy. So last year, in summer last year, we implemented and published the first 3D printer implementation in a community pharmacy, making minoxidil capsules. So why minoxidil? Minoxidil is a widely used oral API for the treatment of various forms of alopecia. And there are no oral treatments commercially available in Spain. The problem with minoxidil is that nowadays is very frequent prescribed, and it has an increasing demand. So pharmacies are every day making minoxidil capsules with even one pharmacist just making these capsules in the pharmacy. And it has a wide variety of doses and drug combinations, so it needs personalization of the treatment. So before we went to the pharmacy, the capsules were being made as in the video, and this was labor intense, it was time consuming, it was prone to errors, human errors, and the operator was exposed all day long to the fine powders of minoxidil and excipients. And it also has a high risk of repetitive strain injury and musculoskeletal disorder for the pharmacist that is making the capsules. And what's more important, it's relying on manual and in most cases just visual quality control methods. And the traceability is lost throughout the process. So when we implemented the 3D printer in the pharmacy, we reduced the workload due to the automation. We saved time, we reduced errors, and we minimize the operator's exposure to the fine powder and reduce the risk of the operator to have repetitive strain injuries or musculoskeletal disorders. And we also implemented exhaustive inline quality control methods and traceability. So how did we do this? We followed the same steps as I mentioned before. The pharmacy received prescriptions for oral minoxidil capsules from a doctor. They prepared the minoxidil pharma inks in the pharmacy, and they printed the minoxidil capsules and dispensed it to patients. This seems very simple to implement, but there is a lot of science underneath. So we developed the pharma ink and the capsules. We selected the excipients. We selected parameters for preparation like temperature or homogenization. We selected the printing parameters. We characterized physicochemically both the pharma ink and the capsules, and we studied stability. And also for the production phase, we optimized the inline quality control for the capsules with the integrated texturometer and the integrated balance. So the outcomes of the study were great. We reduced the manual labor in 55%, and we reduced the cost per capsule in 40%. We also minimized the drug exposure of the pharmacist, and we were complying with Spanish compounding regulations at all time. And thousands of capsules were prepared in one working day with one operator. So right now, we are leading the implementation of 3D printing in community pharmacies and hospital pharmacies in Europe, and we are expanding in the US. We funded FABRX US last year, and we are expecting to have collaborations like with SpecializedRx to expand to more and more community pharmacies there. And we expect the cost reduction to be much higher in the US than here in Spain due to the much higher salaries of the pharmacists and also in the medicines. So thank you very much for attending the webinar, and I will be very happy to reply on your questions.
Thank you very much, Carlos. So if anyone wants to read our publications like the ones mentioned today, please do get in touch and we can share them with you. And likewise, we can also develop new formulations for the drugs you're interested in, as well as formulations like minoxidil. So please do get in touch and we can discuss your needs. Excellent. So thank you very much to our speakers today. We will now open the floor to questions. So please write them down in the Q&A board, and we'll do our best to get through as many as possible in the next few minutes. So I'll start with a few that we've had already sent through. So Charlie, I've got a question here about the storage of pharma ink. Do they need any special storage, like putting the medicines in the fridge, for example?
No, we work with compounding bases like the ones from SpecializedRx, and we just need to store it at room temperature. We don't need to store them in the fridge. We also try to use always anhydrous bases, so we don't have water in the formulation. So the stability is thing.
Great, thank you very much, Charlie. Ajay, the next one is for you. So how are SpecializedRx's premixes tailored for specific prescriptions, and how do they work well with 3D printing?
For the second part of that question, I think that's what we're hoping to find out, through our collaboration with FABRX. Our sort of focus right now is to adhere to, GMP standards. We're not necessarily making bases specifically for 3D printing, but my understanding is that a lot of our bases are already, geared towards that or good for 3D printing. If in the future, a client or FABRX were to reach out to us and say we needed, a certain base with certain properties or certain modifications, then yeah, it's certainly something we could pursue in trying to, come up with a custom base for 3D printing.
Thanks, Ajay. And just to add to that, our research team is always adding new bases to our portfolio with new protocols. So if you do have a base that you're interested in using for 3D printing, please do let us know and we can help you develop that protocol. So the next one's for you, Charlie. Are these 3D printed medicines sold commercially, or are these just available for clinical trials?
No, we are implementing this in community pharmacy. So we ran a lot of clinical trials in the past, and we are running some clinical trials with hospitals in Europe. But this is through the compounding route, and it's ready to be used and automate compounding workflows.
Great, thank you very much. Ajay, the next one's for you. What drew SpecializedRx to 3D printing, and how does it align with your compounding solutions?
Yeah, so we're in the the infancy of our relationship with FABRX, and when they reached out to us asking for sort of additional information on our bases, we quickly found out that we had a lot of overlapping interests. They are a company that specializes in 3D printing, and they were looking for a base. We are a company that specializes in bases, and we quickly realized that 3D printing was an extension and sort of an evolution of the industry that we already serve. So to us, it seemed like a no-brainer to collaborate with FABRX.
Thanks, Ajay. So the next one is for Charlie. How easy is it to implement 3D printing into hospital and pharmacy workflows?
So As I presented before, we are having very easy implementation in hospitals and pharmacies. We are working with several companies that are known and that are very available worldwide for the consumables that you need for 3D printing. And the 3D printers are just plug and play machines. So you just have to put it in your pharmacy and they are ready to print.
Thanks, Charlie. And just to add to that, our collaborators, the pharmacies in hospitals and the community who work with us have a direct line of contact with our technical team as well. So if you had any questions, you could easily get in touch. Ajay, the next one is for you. So how is SpecializedRx partnering with FABRX on 3D printing protocols, and what are the benefits will US pharmacies see?
Well, I'm really interested to work with Carlos on this because I believe he's my counterpart at FABRX. I'm interested to know what sort of considerations they take when they come up with formulations, as opposed to typically what I do with with my compounding and my formulations. As for the benefits, I mean, it's safety, it's efficiency. I think Carlos touched on the fact that there's a lot of integrated quality control. I would appeal to the pharmacists and ask, if you find yourself spending a lot of time QAing compounds, I think the feedback you get from a MedMaker is near real time. You can see the weights, the potency, the traceability is exceptional. I think it's even information that a patient gets access to an app, I believe. So no longer having to dig through, old batch records to figure out which technician made what drug on what day. Yeah, so I think speed, accuracy, and reliability are probably my three answers to that.
Thanks, Ajay. So Charlie, what do I need to do to implement this in the US?
So to implement this in the US, you just need to buy the printer, or we have now a special offer in the US for renting the printer. And you just have to implement it in your workflow. We will train you on how to use the 3D printer. We will give you support and everything with formulation and software and hardware. And you just have to contact us and implement it in your pharmacy.
Great, thank you. And following on from that, how long does it take to print a tablet?
So it depends on the volume that you are printing. For example, for the capsules that we printed in this study, they were like 2 seconds per capsule, more or less.
Thank you. So this question is for the whole panel. So what are the requirements that raw materials must meet for this technology? So if anyone wants to jump in there. Ajay, do you want to go first?
Again, it's we are sort of new to the 3D printing world, so I guess I would defer to FABRX to ask if they had any specifications required. Having already used Tecna 20 successfully, I would say a lot of our bases should be ready to go for 3D printing. The majority of our bases are anhydrous, so as Carlos mentioned, the stability is there. Per USB 795, you also get the extended beyond use dating. Other than that, I really don't know if there's anything specific, for ingredients that you would need.
Yeah. So if I can add to that, basically we are using normal excipients from compounding pharmacies use already, like for example the polyethylene glycol that I was mentioning before. And there are no, I mean, it depends on the technology. Here we are talking about semi-solid extrusion technology. So here we can do different kind of pharma inks. The ones that we are talking about here are based on PEG, but we can also do gummies using gelling agents, for example. as in the study that we did in 2018 in the hospital, where we printed gummies with amino acids and give them to children. We can also print lipidic formulations using lipidic excipients. And also we can do pastes based on different polymers, like, for example, mannitol, that can be used as or dispersible tablets or to have just to swallow them. So basically, there are a lot of excipients and different classes of excipients that can be used for 3D printing.
Thank you, Charlie and Ajay. And following on from that question, does this technology improve the solubility of class 2 compounds?
So that this is for me.
You're probably a good one to answer this.
Okay, so it depends on the formulation that you want to achieve. For improving BCS2 compounds, maybe you can choose other kind of technologies, like, for example, FDM, fused deposition modeling, or DPE, that is direct powder extrusion. But each of them has their limitations. So yeah, you can achieve this solubility increment, but you will need to choose very wisely the parameters and the excipients that you are using.
Thank you very much. So the next question is, are these 3D printers for sale at this time? So I'll answer that quickly. As Charlie mentioned, you can purchase the printers, and they are also available as a subscription to help with the onboarding process. So please do get in touch and we can help facilitate that for you. So Charlie, this next one's for you. What kind of expiration date or beyond use date is given to these products?
So it depends on the stability studies that you conduct, but normally we conduct a 3-month stability study, as this is something that is going to be compounded, and it's meant to be taken in 1 month, more or less. But we can do studies for 6 months or a year. So yeah, it depends on the stability study that we conduct.
Thank you. So the next question is regarding Tecna 20SF. So having worked with Tecna 20SF, it is great, but it will begin to recongeal if taken off the heat. Does the machine keep the syringe with the pharma ink warm so the base doesn't re-solidify? So the quick answer to that is yes, it does keep it warm. But Charlie, do you want to go into more detail?
So yes. Yeah, it keeps warm the syringe. So we have an external heating element where you can place syringes for having, like, for the next batches. But the print head itself, it has a heater, so you can select the temperature and maintain the pharma ink at the temperature that is needed for keeping it liquid.
Thank you. So this next question is for Alvaro and Charlie. Are there any integration abilities with PMS like Pioneer, Compounder RX, etc.?
Yes, regarding the software, the company FABRX develops the software, so it's possible to integrate with any other software through different communication protocols. So we don't have ready this integration right now, but it's something that is doable because we have a team of engineers, computer engineers that develop the software, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Thanks, Alvaro. And just to add to that, we have done this for some pharmacies already, so we have some experience, but obviously every single system can be different, people are using different softwares, etc. So the next question is for Alvaro as well. How is pharmaceutical 3D printing economically feasible? Quite a broad question.
Yeah, so obviously for pharmacies that manufacture higher volumes of compounded medicines are more, you have a better return of investment because you save time in manufacturing, so you save salaries. And as Charlie mentioned during the presentation, in the US, we didn't do a proper calculation of the return of investment, depending on the different states. We are working on that, but with higher volume, the return of investment is higher. So ideally, we are focusing on pharmacies and hospitals with big volumes, and the hospitals right now using this in Europe are normally the biggest hospitals, and you see the return of investment.
Thank you, Alvaro. So the next question is for Charlie and Ajay. So does the pharma ink, having it in semi-solid form, for example, change the beyond use state when compared to powdered capsules or powdered filled capsules?
I think I can answer to that.
Sure.
So we don't change we always do this based on proven data. So we do a stability test to prove what is the expiry date that we can expect for each drug. So it depends on the drug. For some drugs with our excipients, 3D printed excipients, we can have a much longer. With other drugs, it's going to be more or less the same that compared to the traditional capsules.
Thank you, Alvaro. And following on from that question, for the capsule filling using liquid, are both the excipient PEG and API both used in liquid phases?
So the excipients, all the excipients that we are using are solid at room temperature. Even the Tecna 20, Tecna 10 are solid, but they are mixed with the drug at a slightly high temperature, like 40 or 50 degrees, to melt the excipient and mix with the drug. And during the printing process, the excipients and the drugs are in liquid form, either in solution or suspension. But 5 seconds after the printing process, when you fill the capsules of the blisters, the drug and excipients, the pharma ink solidifies immediately in 5 seconds. So then you get a solid formulation again. It's liquid during a short period of time.
Thank you very much. So the next one is for Charlie. Please, can you explain the cleaning processes for the FABRX machines and the benefit of the different forms of BHRT?
So for cleaning the machine, the syringes that we are using and all the material that is in contact with the drug is disposable. So you don't have to worry about cleaning it. The blisters and all the trays, you can remove them from the 3D printer and clean them outside with different protocols depending on the drug. And the machine itself can be cleaned with a validated protocol that we have using commonly cleaning agents.
Thank you. And what would the dosing accuracy be for printing? And are there any excipient property changes such as batch size, which is significant?
Sorry, those.
So first, the first question: what is the dosing accuracy when 3D printing?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the dosing accuracy, it depends on several factors. The first factor is the optimizing the printing parameters. You have to select the temperature, the right temperature. You have to select the right speed for extruding and moving. And this is basically technical questions of the 3D printer that are only used while that are only selected while developing the process. And then we have a good accuracy that complies with the USP or the EP pharmacopoeia regarding dose and also weight.
Thank you, Charlie. So Ajay, the next question is for you. Does SpecializedRx have a catalog of validated master formulation records with their bases? And if so, how many different medications do they have experience with?
I think
yes,
I can help you with this question, Ajay, if you prefer. Because this is something that we are working on to have a protocol with the excipients that can be used with different drugs, including the stability, all the results that can be easily implemented. Right now, this is not with the SpecializedRx, it's included in the software that we provide, and we have I think like 30 or 40 different drugs right now with some of the excipients from SpecializedRx. Our aim is to reach all the drugs that are produced in the different countries. Obviously, in the US, the number of drugs used are high, a lot of hormone replacement. In Europe, the drugs that are used sometimes are different, even in different countries. So we are adapting the development of these formulations from country to country, and we are working on this with the SpecializedRx right now.
Thank you very much. And so we've only got time for one or two more questions now. So the next one is for Charlie. Are there any specific requirements to fulfill before the implementation of 3D printing in the hospital or community pharmacy?
No, I mean, we are already implementing it in Europe and the US. So we already talked to FDA and EMA about this matter, and as it's going to be used as a automating compounding machine, there are no problems with this. The only thing is that, for example, if the prescription says capsules, you have to deliver capsules, but it doesn't matter the way they are made.
Thank you very much. And the next question is in relation to the volume, the speed at which the printer can work on a daily basis compared to current filling machines. Alvaro and Carlos, can you comment on that, please?
So our system is able to produce, I think is right now 10,000 capsules per day. I think that's correct. Our aim is to increase this. We have some plans to have different volume syringes to make the production even bigger than that. But the aim of this system is to get personalized those medicines. So we are not aiming to have like large batches or production of big batches. It's the opposite, to make personalized medicines for specific patients.
Great, thank you very much. So unfortunately, that is all that we've got time for today, but thank you very much to all of the speakers and panelists for joining, and thank you for all of your questions. But please do get in touch if you want to learn more, if you've got more questions, or if you want to get started with pharmaceutical 3D printing. So thank you and goodbye.